SQL. SQL is a language for defining and manipulating databases. It was originally called Structured Query Language, but today SQL is a proper name. Sometimes SQL is pronounced SQL, but it seems that SQL is a more accepted way of pronouncing it. SQL comprises both a data definition language and a data manipulation language. SQL started to be developed in 1974, and was first implemented in 1981. Since around 1983 as a de facto standard. Several standards exist for SQL, and companies implementing database management systems have added proprietary extensions. However, this course concentrates on principles, and on basic features that are available on all modern implementations. Data definition in SQL. Data definition is about defining the relations of a database, together with their attributes, domains, and constraints. The more important commands to do so is create database, and create table. We also have corresponding drop and alter commands, for deleting and altering databases and tables. A database management system may host various different databases, which should be independent of each other. Therefore, before defining the relations of a database we have to create a database within the database management system. The command to create a database is, create database, followed by the name of the database. For example, we may define a database for our enterprise using its name with the command create database Acme Enterprises. Each time we use a database management system, we have to tell it which database we wish to utilize. To do this, we issue the command use followed by the name of the database. For example, we start using the database for our enterprise with the command use Acme Enterprises. Some database management systems use the create schema command as an equivalent of create database. Other systems use the create schema command to create groups within the database, to better organize the relations. The most important command of the data definition language in SQL is create table. The create table command defines a relation, with attributes and integrity constraints, and creates an empty relation in the database. The syntax of the command is create table, followed by the name of the relation, followed by a list of attribute names, their domain, and optionally their constraint, followed by other constraints. For example, to create a relation for employees, which also includes the relationship for works in, we issue the command create table employee, followed by the attribute names, their type and size, and their constraints. Please note how we signify the primary key, and how we signify an alternative composite key using the unique constraint. Also, note how we define the attribute that is a foreign key to another relation. Finally, the not null constraint ensures that the attribute will always have a value. Attempts to insert a tuple without a value in this attribute will result in an error. Creating the relation for the departments is relatively easy, and is left as an exercise for the learner. In our example, all SQL keywords are in capitals to make a distinction with the name of tables, attributes, etc. However, this is not a requirement. SQL commands can be issued in lowercase. The tables in SQL are actually multisets, i.e. bags of tuples, which form relations. In particular, if a table does not have a primary key, or a set of attributes that are defined as unique, and thus represent alternate keys, it is possible that two identical tuples will be stored in the table. Thus, in general an SQL table is not a relation. If, however, a table has a primary key, or a set of attributes that are defined as unique, there can never be two identical tuples in a table. Therefore, it is highly advisable to define at least a primary key for every table. The primary key and unique designations may be used both for one attribute, and for a collection of attributes. For example, for defining the employee as a primary key, we may add the primary key constraint in the line of the employee ID attribute, or we can have a different constraint line with the keyword primary key and the attribute name in parentheses. When we deal with single attributes, both variants are equivalent. However, when we deal with composite attributes, they are not. For example, for defining the last name and first name combination, as an alternate key, we may only use the constraint line with the keyword unique and the attribute names in parentheses. Adding the unique keyword in the lines for the first name attribute and the last name attribute makes both of these attributes alternate keys on their own, and not their combination. That means, for example, that if we have John Black as our employee in the database, we cannot have another John because first name is defined as unique. This is clearly not what we want. The foreign key constraint also has two variants. If the foreign key is a single attribute, then we may add, in the line of that attribute, the keyword references followed by the table name in parentheses. SQL has some predefined domains, also called data types. These fall into various categories, such as single characters or strings, which may have a fixed or a variable size. Numbers, such as integers and floats, both signed and unsigned, and of various sizes and precisions. Dates, timestamps, time intervals. Other data types. Different database management systems may use different keywords and slightly different syntax, but the main data types are usually the same. SQL allows us to define our own domains. This is done with the create domain command followed by the domain name, and the specification of the domain. As an example, we may define a domain for employee ages using the command create domain age. To create a new domain based on the small integer data type, with the additional constraint that it falls within 18 and 67. Afterwards, we can use the new domain age, in the same way as the predefined domains, to define the domain of an attribute. The alter table command modifies the definition of relation in the database, by inserting or deleting attributes, changing the domain of an attribute, adding or deleting constraint, etc. As an example, to add an additional attribute with the email of the employee we use alter table employee. Add email char 20. To delete an unneeded attribute for the employee sex we can use alter table employee. Drop column sex. To increase the size of the last name attribute we can use alter table employee. Alter column last name char 30. Please note that some database management systems use modify column or just modify, instead of alter column. The drop table command deletes a relation from the database. The syntax of the command is drop table, followed by the name of the relation to be deleted. For example, to delete the employee relation we issue the command drop table employee. Be very careful with the drop table command, as it deletes both the table definition and all the table data. Misusing the command may result in loss of data. The drop database command deletes a whole database. The syntax of the command is drop database, followed by the name of the database to be deleted. For example, to delete our database we issue the command drop database Acme Enterprises. Be extra careful with the drop database command, as it deletes all the definitions and all of the data stored in this database. Misusing the command may result in serious loss of data.